Hello from Mindset Daily, wishing you a day full of health, peace, and happiness. Thank you for watching the Mindset Daily channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe to support us. Thank you so much.
What if I told you the reason you feel stuck isn't because you lack talent, but because you're waiting for the right moment? And what if that moment never comes? Would you still keep waiting? Or would you finally decide that the only way forward is to push yourself? You feel trapped because you're waiting for motivation, for clarity, for perfect timing. But none of that is coming. The only way out is to push yourself. Change doesn't come by luck or waiting. It begins the moment you decide comfort is no longer an option. When you demand more from yourself, everything shifts. This is how the relentless rise, by doing what others won't, until they can no longer be ignored. In a moment, I'll show you how pushing yourself daily, with discipline, becomes the reason your life finally moves forward. You are stronger than you believe. For too long, you've been told to wait, to hold back, to play it safe. But deep inside, something is burning, something greater than you've ever dared to admit. That feeling you try to silence? That's your true power calling. It doesn't whisper, it roars. And until you answer it, restlessness will follow you. You were not created to drift through life, ruled by circumstance. You were built to conquer it. The doubt you feel, the hesitation in your step, isn't weakness, it's a signal. It's telling you that you've stayed still too long, that you've listened too much to voices that never dared to go further. So how do you break through that invisible wall? You begin by declaring out loud that you are capable, not later, now. You push yourself, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. Discipline is born the moment you act without waiting for motivation. That is when real strength begins. Imagine rising before the sun while the world still sleeps. You build your mind, your body, your vision before the world even opens its eyes. You don't wait for someone else to push you. You push yourself every single day. Without applause, without approval. Can you see yourself doing that? Ask yourself, are you truly using your strength or only imagining it? Are you moving forward or waiting for permission? Life will not pause for you. The opportunities you seek won't knock politely. You must drag them into existence with your own hands. Remember, the pain of regret will always outweigh the pain of discipline. There will come a day, maybe years from now, when you sit alone, staring at a silent wall. And in that silence, you will feel one of two things: peace or regret. Every choice you make today, every excuse, every delay, adds weight to that moment. Most people would rather suffer the comfort of staying the same than confront the pain of growth. But comfort never builds a legacy. It never forged a great mind or created a destiny. The sting of discipline is sharp but temporary. The sting of regret lingers, gnaws, and never lets go. So what do you do with this truth? You choose the harder path. Not because it hurts, but because it frees you. You wake early. You cut out distraction. You train your will like a soldier training his body. Every refusal, every repetition, every silent hour becomes a brick in the house of your future. Imagine looking back one day, knowing you faced fear, silenced excuses, and rose anyway. What if you lived a life with no what if? What if the man in the mirror was proud of you? Why delay when discipline can set you free? Why run from sweat when regret lasts longer? Every day, whether you realize it or not, you are choosing one pain or the other. No one is coming to save you. You weren't born to be rescued. You were born to rise. Each time you wait for someone to hand you a break, you surrender your power. No perfect teacher, no perfect moment, no perfect feeling will ever arrive. It's only you and your decision. The world owes you nothing, but it will always reward the one who acts, who builds with bleeding hands and unwavering conviction. The man who takes the bricks thrown at him and builds his foundation becomes unshakable. But how do you move when the weight feels unbearable? You stop asking for relief and start creating results. One step, then another, and another. Head down, standards high. You rise before others. You do the hard things when no one's watching. Picture yourself in a dark room. No help, no sound, just silence. Most people freeze, but not you. You strike a match, you light your own way. That's what sets you apart. That's what makes you unstoppable. Are you still waiting for someone to choose you? Or have you chosen yourself? Every day you wait keeps you stuck. Every day you act makes you stronger. Your future isn't discovered, it's created. And no one else will create it for you. Discipline is the highest form of self-respect. If you respected yourself more, you would waste less time. That's the truth many refuse to face. You say you want more, you dream of excellence, but your habits speak louder than your hopes. Discipline isn't punishment, it's honor. It's how a man proves to himself that he is worthy of the life he desires. Greatness doesn't come from emotion. It comes from repetition, cold, deliberate, daily action. Discipline is how you remind yourself that your goals are real, that your future matters more than your feelings. And how do you keep this fire alive? You make promises to yourself, and you keep them. You rise when the world sleeps. You work when excuses whisper in your ear. You demand more, even when comfort tempts you to settle. That is self-respect in motion. Picture a man who speaks little, yet every action shouts consistency. He isn't loud, he's respected, not for his words, but for what he proves daily. Could you become that man? Ask yourself, what does your day reveal about how much you respect your dream? What does your discipline say about the life you're building? If you want pride, earn it. If you want peace of mind, build it with discipline. Nothing else will give it to you. Clarity creates power. Know what you want. A man without direction is like a ship in the fog, drifting, colliding with anything in its path. He may row with all his strength, but effort means nothing without a course. Without clarity, energy burns, but progress stalls. He mistakes motion for meaning, and one day wakes up tired, not from hard work, but from aimless work. Days blur, ambitions fade, and he becomes a man who survives but never arrives. Clarity is not a luxury, it's a necessity. It is the compass that turns movement into purpose. Yet most people live their entire lives without ever deciding what they truly want. They chase inherited dreams, copy the desires of their peers, and run only because others are running too. But how often do they ask, where am I really going? In ignoring that question, they surrender the right to shape their own destiny. They don't live, they drift. Until one day comes, a quiet but powerful moment, when a man grows tired of drifting. When he feels the emptiness of borrowed goals. When the applause of others no longer covers the silence within his soul. And in that moment, if he dares, he becomes still. He doesn't scroll, he doesn't escape. He listens, he writes, and he confronts the fog with the most dangerous question of all. If nothing stood in my way, what would I create? Who would I become? It's not an easy question. It strips away excuses and shatters illusions. Because once you name your true desire, you can no longer pretend to be lost. You can't blame others or wait for a sign. You must either move toward it or admit you've chosen comfort over clarity. But the moment you declare it, the world shifts. Focus sharpens, energy aligns, and every action finds direction. Suddenly, each day becomes a brick, not scattered sand. You build, you climb. You become the man who ascends, not the man who circles. Picture yourself at the edge of a mountain. The path may be unclear, but the destination still calls. Without vision, you wander. With vision, you conquer. A man with clarity doesn't avoid struggle. He embraces it because he knows where he's going. Failure doesn't shake him. Noise doesn't sway him. He walks with force, speaks with purpose, and lives with aim. So ask yourself, do you truly know what you want, or have you only been reacting to life? Push yourself to decide. Push yourself to declare. Once your vision clears, your life becomes momentum. Every choice gains weight. Every step carries power, and the man who once drifted becomes the man who arrives. Start before you're ready. Stop waiting for the perfect moment, the flawless opening, the divine sign that never comes. You wait for the weather to calm, for the noise to stop, for confidence to strike like lightning. But that moment is not coming. If you keep waiting for everything to feel right, you'll still be standing in the same place 10 years from now, watching your life rust from the sidelines. Readiness is a myth. A polished mask that fear wears to make hesitation feel wise. You think you need more preparation, more certainty, more security, but all it does is keep you stuck. Courage doesn't come from pausing. It comes from stepping into uncertainty and deciding to move anyway. You don't become ready before the journey. You become ready in the journey, in the mess, in the mistakes, in the moments when your heart races, your knees shake, and your mind screams don't. That's where strength is forged. So how do you move when everything inside whispers wait? You move anyway. You train yourself to act despite the discomfort. You take one step forward, not because it's perfect, but because it's possible. You write the sentence even if it's rough. You start the workout even if it's short. You speak even if your voice trembles. You silence fear with the decision to begin, to build, to become. Picture a man standing at the edge of a river. He studies the current, waits for the water to calm, for the sky to clear. But the water never stills. The perfect moment never comes. So he stands there, waiting, until one day, he looks across and sees another man on the far side, soaked, scraped, out of breath, but he made it. Not because he was braver, not because he was smarter, but because he started. Now ask yourself, how many times has fear delayed your life? How many dreams have you buried under the weight of not yet? You don't need more time. You need more courage. Stop worshiping comfort and start honoring progress. Because here's the truth, action changes everything. Not thought, not preparation, not prayer. Without pursuit, nothing moves. It's how you sharpen your mind, how you build confidence, how you rewrite the story of your life, step by trembling step. Don't wait for certainty. Don't wait to feel ready. Push yourself forward because you're afraid. Walk through fear like it's a doorway, because it is. The man who wins is the one who acts. When it's hard, when it's risky, when it's messy, he falls, he bleeds, but he builds. And that is why he rises. You don't have time to waste. You think you do, but you don't. That's the cruelest illusion, the softest lie you've been told since childhood. There's always tomorrow. No, there isn't. Time is not patient. It doesn't pause for your hesitation. It doesn't slow when you feel lost. Every second that passes is a decision, a line written into your story, whether you chose it or not. The clock is no companion. It's a silent executioner. It watches, it waits, and it takes. Every day you delay is a day erased, never to return. The man who succeeds, who shapes his life into something sharp and remarkable, isn't always the most talented or the most fortunate. He is the one who understands that time is life, nothing else. You can lose a job, money, even your home, and rebuild. But the hours you wasted, the mornings you slept through, the days you drowned in scrolling, doubting, or overthinking, they're gone forever. That is the steep price of inaction. So what do you do with that truth? You stop pretending you have endless pages left to fill. You stop living as if you're still rehearsing for the real show. This is the show. The curtain has already risen. The audience is time itself, and it demands a performance worthy of your breath. Rise with urgency, not panic, but with purpose. Walk through your days as if they are sacred, because they are. Treat your calendar like a battlefield, defending it against laziness, comfort, and delay. Picture two men with the same goal and the same opportunity. One wakes before the sun, locks into discipline, refuses to waste an hour. He is tired, yes, but focused. He begins, he builds, he endures. The other man nods, saying he'll start when it feels right, or next week, or after life settles down. He believes he has time. A year later, the first man is transformed, sharper, stronger, respected. The second man is still imagining, still preparing, still waiting. You already know who wins. So here's the hard question. Which one are you? Are you living in alignment with your vision, or sleepwalking through your hours, waiting for life to shake you awake? Time doesn't shout, it whispers. And before you know it, decades vanish while you're still thinking about it. Treat time like gold, because it is rarer, more precious, and more fleeting. Stop trading your hours for distractions, for comfort, for hollow escapes that give you nothing in return. You cannot afford another wasted sunrise. You cannot afford to postpone the man you were meant to become. Push yourself while your legs still move, while your mind still burns, because the future is never promised to the one who waits. It belongs to the man who moves, who dares, who acts with urgency, not recklessness, but resolve. The one who wakes each day and says, "This is the hour. This is the moment. This is the life I build." Live like that, fiercely and intentionally, and you won't fear the ticking clock. You will outrun it. Nothing changes until you do. You want your life to be different. You speak about it. You dream about it. You even complain about how things are now and how they should be. Yet when the day begins, you fall back into the same habits, the same choices, the same thoughts that built the very life you claim you want to leave behind. You want change without sacrifice, growth without discomfort, results without revision. But that's not how reality works. The universe doesn't respond to wishes, it responds to identity. And identity isn't what you say, It's what you consistently do. You've been told that change comes from outside, arriving like a miracle, through a new job, a relationship, or a stroke of luck. But here's the truth most avoid. Change doesn't happen to you. It happens within you. It's not an event. It's a shift, a restructuring of who you are from the ground up. Your life doesn't bend to your hopes. It mirrors your habits. It reflects the shape of your daily choices. If your identity stays the same, your outcomes will follow. So how do you truly change? Not in fantasy, but in form. You begin where you are, with what you control. Your thoughts, your routines, your standards. You examine the stories you've been telling yourself. I'm not ready. I'm not good enough. I'll always be this way. And you call them what they are, chains. Then you challenge them, replace them, and build a new mind, one small truth at a time. You start acting not as who you've been, but as who you intend to become. Slowly, your life begins to shift. You stop reacting and start rebuilding. You notice new options, take bolder actions, and demand more from yourself and your surroundings. And that's when people look at you and say, you've changed. You didn't change by accident. You became someone else on purpose. Picture this. A man plants the same seed every morning. Corn, corn, corn. Yet he prays for strawberries. That's exactly what most people do. They repeat the same patterns, the same habits, the same complaints, then beg the world to deliver something new. But you don't get strawberries from corn. You reap what you consistently sow. If you want different fruit, you need a different seed, a new mindset, a new decision. Real growth begins beneath the surface. So ask yourself, what behaviors are you clinging to that keep you small? What stories are you replaying that guarantee the same results? You don't need more luck, and you don't need the world to hand you a miracle. What you need is courage. The courage to disrupt your comfort, to reject the familiar, to look in the mirror and say, this version of me must die, so something stronger can live. It won't be easy. Nothing worthwhile ever is. But when you truly change, your life doesn't just shift at the edges. It transforms from the inside out. Stop trimming branches. Go to the root. Push yourself. Refuse to repeat the past. Become the man who earns the life he wants. Because when you change everything. Success belongs to the consistent. Greatness doesn't fall from the sky. It isn't awarded to the loudest voice, the best idea, or even the sharpest mind. It belongs to the man who shows up every single day. The one who keeps moving forward when standing still would be easier. The man who picks up the hammer not once, not twice, but again and again, until the job is finished. That's who wins. That's who becomes unstoppable. Because talent fades, motivation weakens, inspiration comes and goes. But consistency compounds. It's slow, it's quiet, often invisible, and that's why most people overlook it. Yet it remains the most powerful force you can use. You want success, but have you truly earned it through your habits? You dream of achievement, recognition, and transformation. But how often do you actually show up when it's hard? How often do you keep promises to yourself when no one is watching? That's the real test. The man who is consistent doesn't need applause to keep moving. He doesn't need to feel motivated to do the work. He doesn't rely on external fuel because the fire is already burning within. He shows up in the rain, in the dark, when every part of him says stop, and that's why he breaks through while others fade away. Consistency isn't exciting or glamorous. It's repetitive, often boring, but it's the grind that builds empires. It's the steady pressure that turns coal into diamond, day after day, brick by brick. Small progress, repeated endlessly, becomes massive. That's the secret most people ignore. Too many are obsessed with the breakthrough moment, the flashy success story, the so-called overnight victory. But every overnight success was years in the making. Years of working without reward, repeating without recognition, enduring without escape. So how do you build consistency? You stop negotiating with yourself. You remove maybe from your vocabulary. You set a standard and honor it no matter how you feel. Consistency doesn't care about your mood. It only asks one question. Will you show up today? Will you sit down and write? Will you train even when your body aches? Will you push forward even when the fire feels gone? If your answer is yes, and that yes becomes your habit, then there is nothing you cannot build. Imagine a man with an axe. He walks into the forest, swings once, and leaves. The tree stands tall. Another man takes the same axe, but he returns every day. He doesn't talk about it. He doesn't post about it. He just shows up and swings again and again. At first, nothing changes. Then a dent, then a crack, and one morning the tree falls. Not from a single heroic strike, but from countless quiet ones. That is what success looks like. Built in silence, revealed in time. So ask yourself, are you swinging daily or only when it's convenient? Do you move with discipline or only when you feel motivated? Motivation fades. Commitment endures. That's character. That's power. This is how breakthroughs happen. You don't need another spark of inspiration. You need relentless consistency. You need to push yourself when the fire is gone, when the sky is gray, when no one is watching. Because winners aren't forged in the spotlight. They're built in the shadows. The man who starts strong is everywhere. But the one who finishes, with his head down, hands dirty, and soul intact, that man is rare. Be that man. Walk forward every day, no matter the weather, no matter the mood. Let others burn out with excitement or quit when it's no longer fun. You keep going. That's why you win. Raise your standards, because your life will never rise higher than the standards you set. That isn't just a motivational phrase, it's a law. Not your goals, not your dreams, not even your vision defines your future. Your standards do. A goal is optional, a dream is distant, but a standard is the line you refuse to cross, the bare minimum you no longer accept. It's not about what you hope for, it's about what you demand of yourself every single day. You can talk about success all you want, but if your daily life is ruled by low standards, then mediocrity will always be the result. If you keep entertaining weak habits, those habits eventually become your identity. Life won't rise to meet your hopes, it will reflect your minimums. And if your minimums are low, your results will be too. Raising your standards isn't about performance, it's about identity. It's about deciding who you refuse to be, drawing a line in the sand, and saying, that version of me is finished. It isn't glamorous, it isn't dramatic, and it may not even be visible, but it is transformational. The moment you declare that certain behaviors, excuses, and patterns are no longer acceptable, the trajectory of your life shifts. Not through dreams, but through discipline. So what does it really mean to raise your standards? It means you stop making space for weakness, stop negotiating with laziness, stop letting feelings control your follow-through. You choose excellence even when it's inconvenient, even when no one is watching. You begin to treat the small things as sacred. You hold yourself to a higher level, not because someone is grading you, but because you refuse to betray the man you know you can become. Picture a man who no longer needs to be told what to do. He irons his shirt not for compliments, but because he refuses to present himself carelessly. He reads not to impress others, but because ignorance offends him. He trains his body not for display, but because weakness is unacceptable. He doesn't just pursue discipline, he expects it from himself. That man doesn't rely on motivation. He runs on standards. And when that shift happens, life begins to respond differently. Opportunities notice you, people respect you, and doors open, not because of luck, but because you've become someone who deserves it. So ask yourself, what are you tolerating that is quietly killing your potential? What attitudes do you excuse because that's just who I am? What rehearsed excuses have you repeated so often they now sound like truth? This is the mirror you must face, because you cannot change what you refuse to confront, and you cannot rise while making peace with the very things holding you down. Raising your standards isn't about pushing harder. It's about demanding more of yourself in every area: your discipline, your honesty, your effort, your mindset. It's about closing the gap between who you are and who you pretend to be. It's about making excellence your baseline, not a distant ambition. When that transformation takes root, life begins to bend to your expectations. People treat you differently. You carry yourself with authority, and your results start to reflect your new identity. You don't rise by accident. You rise by decision, by declaring daily what you will no longer accept. It won't be easy, but that is the price of greatness. That is the cost of building a life worth living. Because once your standards rise, once you say never again to laziness, inconsistency, and self-betrayal, your life has no choice but to follow. Your habits sharpen, your mindset strengthens, and your outcomes shift. Not because the world changed, but because you did. Raise your standards, not someday, but now, because every day you delay is another day you train yourself to settle. And if you keep settling, you will never know who you could have been. Be the man who decides. Be the man who rejects average. Be the man who raises the standard and never lowers it again. That is the man the world cannot ignore. Pressure always reveals the truth about you. When life is smooth, when skies are clear and the path is straight, everyone looks composed. Everyone appears disciplined. Everyone talks like they're destined for greatness. But those easy stretches don't reveal true strength. They are illusions of control, not proof of it. Your real character, your true power, isn't measured when things go your way. It's exposed when everything falls apart. When there's no cheer, no certainty, no comfort. When you're caught in the storm with nowhere to hide, that's when you meet the real you. Anyone can hold their head high when life is handing out applause. Anyone can talk about mindset when nothing is testing it. But who are you when the applause disappears? Who are you when the plan breaks, the path vanishes, and doubt begins to whisper? When results don't come, when support dries up, when the fire grows relentless, that's when you find out if your discipline is real or just decoration. That's when you learn whether you've truly trained your mind or only flirted with the idea of strength. Pressure doesn't break you, it exposes you. It strips away the surface, removes the mask, and shows whether your habits were built on convenience or commitment. It reveals whether your vision is just words or something deeper, wired into your very bones. You don't rise to the level of your potential when things get hard. You fall to the level of your preparation. The ones who thrive under pressure, the ones who refuse to fold when life pushes back, are not lucky. They are trained. They didn't wait for pressure to test them. They tested themselves first. So how do you become that kind of person? How do you build a mind that doesn't bend? You don't wait for crisis. You simulate it. You lean into discomfort before life throws it at you. You rehearse calm in the middle of chaos. You choose to do the hard things daily, not because someone forces you, but because you know you must. You show up even when no one is watching. You practice stillness when emotions flare, and you breathe deep when the pressure rises. Picture a man in the middle of a storm. The sky is black, the winds roar, trees snap like twigs. The world around him trembles, but he doesn't. He doesn't scream, doesn't panic, doesn't run. He anchors down, tightens his grip. His heart may race, but his actions remain steady. That is power. That is control. Not the absence of fear, but the courage to act in spite of it. So what does pressure reveal about you? Do you break or bend? Do you rise or retreat? When life gets loud, do you panic or do you get clearer? These are the questions that define you. They are not answered in peace, but in war. And make no mistake, life will test you. It will bring storms without warning. It will strip away your comfort and demand your courage. When that day comes, you won't have time to build yourself. You'll only reveal what's already been built. That's why you push yourself now. Not someday. Not when it's convenient. Not when the schedule clears or motivation arrives. You do it now. You train in silence so you don't crumble in chaos. You push when it's quiet so you can stand tall when the noise comes. While others search for the exit, you become the one who endures. While others collapse, you collect yourself. You become the one who doesn't need calm to remain calm, who doesn't need validation to feel certain, who doesn't need easy to keep going. And here's the truth. Once you master your mind under pressure, once you prove to yourself that you don't fold, nothing can be taken from you. Not fear, not failure, not delay. You're no longer controlled by what happens. You're controlled by what you've trained. You don't wait for permission. You don't wait for clarity. You act, you lead, you endure. So let the storms come. Let the winds rise. Let the world throw everything at you. You won't just survive. You'll sharpen because you've already done the work. You've already built the mind that can carry the weight. You've already become the man who doesn't flinch. Pressure is not the enemy. It's the mirror. It reveals what you truly are. Train for it, so when it comes, you own it. Greatness cannot be built on weak habits. The man who seeks greatness must first go to war, not with the world, but with himself. The battle doesn't begin in the spotlight. It doesn't start on the stage or in front of an audience. It begins in silence, in solitude, in the hidden corners of life where no one is watching and no applause will ever come. That is where weakness lives. And if you don't destroy it there, it will destroy you everywhere else. Weakness is subtle, deceptive. It doesn't show in grand moments, but in the details, the small, forgettable choices you make day after day. Hitting snooze instead of rising with purpose. telling yourself just this once while letting your standards erode. You think those moments don't matter, but they do. Every decision matters because each small compromise weaves itself into your identity. And before long, the man in the mirror is no longer the one you dreamed of becoming, but the one you quietly settled for. You say you want success. You talk about discipline, ambition, and rising to the top. But what are your habits really saying? What is your life actually proving behind the words? Are you moving like a man on a mission? Or are you drifting, waiting, hoping something will finally click? You can fool the world for a while, but you can't fool the life you're building, because your habits are the architects of your destiny. They are always working, either for you or against you. Greatness is never accidental. It's constructed one quiet choice at a time. Think of a craftsman building a cathedral, stone by stone, hour by hour, measuring, refining, never rushing. Each piece is placed with care because the integrity of the whole depends on the strength of every part. One weak brick in the wrong place can bring down the entire structure. That's how you must treat your life. Your habits are the bricks, your patterns the beams. If you don't examine them, question them, and forge them with intent, you'll build something fragile. And fragile things cannot withstand pressure. So look closely at the way you live. Not only on your best days, but on your worst. Not just in front of others, but when no one is watching. Are your habits sculpting strength or shaping weakness? Are your choices building a foundation strong enough to carry the weight of your ambition, or silently corroding your potential? Ask yourself with ruthless honesty, what habits are weakening your foundation? What patterns are draining your focus, your energy, your edge? What small indulgences have become silent assassins, stealing your momentum day after day? These aren't questions of comfort. They are questions of transformation, because you will never rise higher than the structure you've built beneath you. And that structure is forged in the discipline of your habits. If you want strength, you must build it. Not wish for it. Not talk about it. Build it. And that starts by replacing comfort with discipline. Replacing the quick dopamine hit with long-term vision. You trade the easy path for the hard truth. You choose focus over distraction. That means taking the cold shower, pushing for the extra rep, refusing the shortcut. You pick up the book instead of the endless scroll, not because it feels good now, but because you're building something that will endure long after others collapse. Most people never reach greatness because they never face the quiet weakness of their daily life. They believe greatness lives in the spotlight, but it doesn't. It's forged in the shadows. It's in the hour you rise, the posture you carry, the standard you hold yourself to when no one is watching. That is where champions are made, not on the stage, but in the furnace. So push yourself. Not once, not for a single day, but consistently, ruthlessly. Watch your habits like a hawk. Audit them, strengthen them, shape them with intention. Because the man who builds strong habits becomes the man the world cannot move. Your future isn't something you stumble into. It's something you build, decision by decision, moment by moment. So make every choice count. Refuse softness. Destroy weakness. Become the man whose habits align with his vision. Because if your habits rise, your life will rise with them. Once your foundation is strong, nothing can shake you. The world respects the man who endures. Endurance is power, quiet, steady, often unseen, yet stronger than talent, louder than ambition, and far greater than any fleeting spark of motivation. It is the power that lives in the man who never stops. The one who walks through storms, not because he enjoys them, but because he's decided that nothing, pain, rejection, or fatigue, has the authority to stop him. The man who endures becomes unbreakable, not because life was kind to him, but because he kept moving when everything screamed for him to quit. Most people give up too soon. They reach the edge of struggle and see it as a signal to turn back, rather than a gate to walk through. They want the results, but not the resistance. They want the crown without the climb. But life doesn't hand out trophies for effort. It tests you, stretches you, and waits to see who has the spine to keep going. Not only when it's fun, not only when applause is loud, but when everything feels hard, lonely, and painfully slow. Those are the moments that separate the real from the temporary. Endurance isn't a gift, it's a skill, a muscle forged through pain, repetition, and refusal. It begins the moment you stop expecting ease. Stop being surprised when life resists you. Of course it will. That's its job. Life will strip things away. It will hit you where it hurts. It will ask again and again, "Are you sure you want this?" And most will fold. But those who expect resistance, who prepare for the trial, are never shocked by the weight. They were already lifting before the burden arrived. Picture a man pushing a cart up a steep hill. He is alone. There is no cheering crowd. There is no help. The road is uneven, jagged, and unforgiving. The cart slips, it rolls back, the wheel breaks, and the man falls. But he doesn't curse the hill. He doesn't wait for someone else to carry it. He gets back up, fixes what's broken, and pushes again, and again, until one day, without applause or fanfare, he reaches the top. Not because he was the strongest, not because he had the best cart, but because he refused to quit. Now ask yourself, have you endured, or have you escaped? When the path grew steep, did you dig deeper or look for a way out? Did you build stamina, or did you chase speed? Most people want shortcuts, but what's built quickly rarely lasts. Endurance isn't about speed. It's about staying power, showing up after disappointment, betrayal, or failure, and still saying, "I move." The world respects those who endure not only because they made it, but because of what it cost them. Every scar, sleepless night, and lonely battle carved resilience into their bones. These are the ones people fear, not because they're ruthless, but because they will not go away. You can't break them. You can't outlast them. To endure is to win in slow motion, to become unstoppable without shouting. It's the quiet declaration that nothing owns you. Not your past, not your pain, not your failures. It's rising when nothing rises with you. It's walking alone when no one shows up. It's fighting again when you have every reason not to. And yes, endurance is ugly. It doesn't look like the movies. It looks like exhaustion, tears behind closed doors, long nights, early mornings, and zero recognition. But that's why it's rare and why it's powerful. Because once you endure what others cannot, you gain what they never will. So push yourself, not just once, not only when the sun shines. Push when everything breaks, when it's dark, when you're tired, when nothing makes sense. Refuse to surrender. Refuse to sit down. Let the world see what persistence looks like in its rawest form. Because the man who endures becomes a force no obstacle can outlast. In the end, life bends not to the talented, but to the relentless. Not to the fast, but to the consistent. Endurance doesn't ask how you feel. It asks if you'll keep moving anyway. So keep moving, keep pushing, keep enduring, because that's how you win. Action is the cure for fear. Fear is a parasite. It feeds on hesitation. It thrives in the silence between your thoughts and your actions. The longer you wait, the stronger it grows, wrapping tighter around your potential. Fear isn't always loud. It doesn't always scream. Sometimes it hums in the background, subtle and convincing, telling you now isn't the right time, that you need to think more, wait longer, feel ready. But that feeling never comes, not the way you expect. Fear doesn't disappear when you think, it only leaves when you move. You've been taught that courage comes first, that bravery knocks before you act, that you should wait until the nerves settle and the perfect moment arrives. That belief is a trap. It has killed more dreams than failure ever has. Because courage isn't a precondition, it's the result. It's not the fire that moves you forward, it's the flame that ignites because you dared to take the first step. Want to conquer fear? Stop waiting for it to soften. Fear doesn't negotiate. It doesn't bargain. It feeds on delay. You don't overcome it by studying it. You overcome it by outrunning it. You smother it with motion. You bury it under momentum. You take one trembling step, then another, and another, until fear has no room left to breathe. That's how you kill it. So what's stopping you right now? A memory of failure? A voice telling you you're not enough? Someone else's judgment? Some imagined humiliation if things go wrong? None of that is real, unless you give it power. Stay still, and fear grows. Move, and fear dies. Fear is not a wall. It only looks like a wall when you're standing still. The moment you lean in, the moment you reach forward, you realize it's only smoke, an illusion. It has no structure, no strength, unless you give it power. Picture a man standing before a mountain. He stares at the summit, jagged and hidden in clouds. He sees the risks, the falls, the unknown. Fear rises, his heart races, his legs hesitate. Every thought screams for safety. But then something shifts. He doesn't conquer the mountain with a leap or a roar. He simply takes a step. One foot, then another. Not fast, not perfect, but forward. With each step, fear that once felt massive begins to shrink. There's no time left for overthinking. He is breathing, climbing, moving. Suddenly, fear is no longer his companion. Momentum is. That's what action creates. It doesn't just silence fear, it replaces it. It gives your body focus and your mind a rhythm. It pulls your attention away from endless what-ifs and anchors you to what's next. Action ties you to the present, and fear cannot survive in the present. Fear only lives in maybe, in someday. Kill that with today. So ask yourself, what fear are you feeding with an action? What mountain have you been staring at for weeks, months, maybe years, without taking a single step? And what would happen if you just moved? Not conquered, not finished, just moved. The first step doesn't have to be perfect or grand. It just has to happen. Because that first step isn't about progress. It's about breaking fear's rhythm. It's proving to yourself that you can act even while afraid. Fear never fully disappears, but you can learn to walk with it, to stop bowing to it, to keep moving even when doubt walks beside you. The man who waits for fear to vanish will never build anything. But the man who acts in spite of fear becomes unstoppable, not because he never felt it, but because he refused to let it drive. So push yourself to act. Not tomorrow. Not when it feels easier. But now. Today. Even if your hands shake. Even if your voice cracks. Even if your legs feel heavy. Just move. Because once you do, you'll uncover something ancient and powerful. Fear was never solid, never stone. It was only smoke. The real fire has always been inside you. Your environment shapes your mind, so guard it. You may be strong, disciplined, focused, even relentless in your ambition. But no one is immune to their surroundings. They seep in quietly, consistently, without asking permission. What surrounds you shapes you. The conversations you hear, the energy you absorb, the people you allow into your space, all leave fingerprints on your mind, whether you notice or not. Strength means little if you're drowning in noise that dulls it. Discipline fades when mocked by those around you. Fire dies slowly in a room full of wet blankets. Yet most men drift through life with their gates wide open. They let in everything, every opinion, every distraction, every shallow voice. They call it open-mindedness, but really, it's surrender. They hand their soil to anything that passes by, then wonder why they feel scattered, unfocused, unmotivated. A man on a mission cannot afford that. He must be intentional about every voice, every vibration, every piece of input that enters his mind. Because your environment is never passive, it's a force, a sculptor. If you spend your days among the lazy, the faithless, the small-minded, don't be shocked when their thoughts become your own. Surround yourself with mediocrity, and soon you'll excuse it in yourself. Energy is contagious. Doubt is contagious. But so are discipline and courage, if you make room for them. You must treat your environment like a battlefield. Audit it ruthlessly, without apology. Not someday. Not later. Now. You must ask yourself, what am I allowing into my world that pulls me backward? Who around me encourages delay, discourages growth, and waters the weeds instead of the roots? Whose voice do I hear louder than my own? And is it helping or harming me? When the answer becomes clear, you act. You don't justify, you don't explain. You remove what doesn't serve your direction. You tighten your circle until it reflects your mission, your mindset, your values. You stop giving your energy to people who don't respect it. You stop debating with those who aren't even trying to grow. You stop being available to the opinions of people who aren't building anything. Because every time you let them in, you dull your own edge. Picture a farmer growing rare fruit, something that can't be found anywhere else. He doesn't scatter seeds and hope. He protects the soil, clears the weeds, guards against pests. He builds fences and shields his crop. Why? Because he knows the value of what he's growing. One bad storm, one careless infestation, could ruin an entire season. So he becomes a guardian, not just a grower. You must do the same. You are cultivating something rare, maybe a vision no one else sees, discipline in a world that glorifies ease, or faith in a time of cynicism. Whatever it is, it's precious, and it cannot thrive in toxic soil. It cannot bloom in polluted air. You must protect the conditions that feed your growth with the same intensity you bring to your goals. So ask yourself, what have you allowed into your mental garden that should have been cast out long ago? What conversations have you accepted as truth when they were only fear in disguise? What noise have you mistaken for wisdom simply because it was loud? These are not small questions. They decide whether your path leads to transformation or stagnation. To be truly powerful, you must be selective, not arrogant, not dismissive, but aware. You must treat your mental space as sacred, because it is. Everything flows from there. Your choices, your emotions, your habits. If the foundation is poisoned, why be surprised when the structure collapses? That's why you must shape your surroundings like a sculptor shapes stone. Every inch deliberate, every detail examined, every addition questioned. Greatness never grows by accident. It grows in quiet, curated spaces where only vision, focus, and fire exist. Protect that space fiercely. Stop being casual with your attention. Stop giving access to people who haven't earned it. Start curating your life like a work of art, because that's exactly what it is. Build walls not to hide, but to fortify. Plant gardens not to impress, but to nourish. Choose allies who speak life, not doubt, who fuel the fire instead of fanning the fear. Your mind is not just a tool, it's a temple. And no matter how strong you think you are, if the temple is defiled, the fire will eventually die. So guard it, shape it, build it. Let no one inside who threatens what you are becoming. Build inner fortitude. Don't rely on motivation. Motivation is fleeting, a flicker, a spark that flashes bright and then vanishes before you can hold it. One day it roars in your chest, and the next it disappears like smoke in the wind. Depend on it, and you'll always live in cycles, starting strong, stopping short, beginning again, only to quit when the feeling dies. That's the trap most men fall into. They wait to feel ready, to feel energy, to feel clear, as if some invisible push will ignite their drive. But the men who build lasting things, empires, legacies, unshakable strength, don't wait to feel like it. They move anyway. They understand a truth most people avoid. Motivation is a luxury. Discipline is a necessity. And there will be mornings when your eyes are heavy, when your limbs resist, when your heart isn't in it. Afternoons will come when everything in you wants to quit, when passion feels buried under exhaustion or doubt. There will be days when you don't feel powerful, certain, or inspired. In those moments, the real question isn't what do you feel like doing? The question is what did you promise yourself you would do? That's the line that separates strength from weakness. The weak move only when it's easy. The strong move because they already decided to. That is the backbone of true power, inner fortitude. It's not fueled by hype or bursts of excitement. It's about showing up when no one's watching, when there's no applause, no energy, just you, the silence, and the weight of your word. The only thing standing between you and regret is your willingness to act anyway. So how do you build that kind of strength? You begin by keeping promises to yourself. Start small. You say, I'll train today, and you do it, even in the rain, even when you're tired, even when your mind begs for rest. You say, I'll write, and you write, even if it's just a single sentence, even if every word feels heavy. It's not about perfection. It's about repetition. Each time you follow through, especially when it's difficult, you carve a line of steel into your character. Every act of discipline tightens your spine. Every choice builds the framework of a man who doesn't flinch. Picture a soldier on the battlefield. The rain is merciless, mud drags at every step, the noise is deafening, and the mission is brutal. But he doesn't stop to ask if he's in the mood. He doesn't wait for clarity. He marches forward, because his commitment is stronger than his comfort, and the mission is greater than his mood. And you must ask yourself, can you move like that? Are you only productive when you feel inspired? Do you only act when the wind is at your back? Or do you move forward no matter what? Because your word must mean more than your feelings. This is where most men fail. They think discipline is just a routine, but it's not. It's a belief system, a way of life. It's the decision to become someone who honors their word, no matter how small the task, no matter how quiet the result. And when you live that way, something inside shifts. You stop needing motivation. You stop chasing perfect conditions. You stop waiting for the world to push you forward. You become self-directed, purpose-led. You become a man with internal gravity, a force that pulls you forward regardless of the day's weight. That is a rare power, because the man who no longer relies on motivation becomes unshakable. He can't be stopped by a bad mood, a rough day, or the absence of applause. He simply moves. And in moving, he changes everything. This kind of discipline doesn't scream. It doesn't demand attention. It works quietly. In repetition, in lonely moments, when no one is watching. Yet it transforms a man from average to exceptional. It builds a foundation so solid that storms can't shake it. It forges habits so strong that even fear bows in their presence. That is what you're capable of. But only if you stop waiting for motivation to carry you, and instead become the man who moves without it. Let others chase feelings. Let them postpone progress until the moment feels right. You will build your strength in the absence of emotion. You do the work when it's dry, when it's dull, when it's the last thing you want to face, because that's when it matters most. That's when it counts. That's when your future is being carved, quietly, without applause, one disciplined act at a time. Push yourself beyond motivation. Let that be someone else's fuel. Yours must run deeper. Yours is forged in commitment. Yours is etched in grit. And that kind of fuel never burns out. It only grows stronger. Be ruthless with excuses. Every excuse you keep is a chain, a silent tether wrapped in comfort disguised as logic. It whispers like a lullaby, strokes your ego, tells you it understands, tells you you're doing your best. But in that same whisper, it robs you. Excuses are thieves with gentle hands. They don't storm in and wreck your life. They lull you to sleep while your future slips quietly out the back door. You say you don't have time, but look closer. How many hours have you wasted numbing your mind with empty distractions, scrolling through meaningless updates, chasing conversations that go nowhere? You say you're too tired, yet your energy still finds its way into things that don't build you, don't challenge you, don't serve you. Time isn't the problem. Energy isn't the problem. The real problem is what you choose to protect. Most of the time, you protect comfort at the cost of your calling. Excuses aren't reasons, they're masks. Escape hatches for the undisciplined. Elegant justifications that let you avoid the hard thing without guilt. They sound good. They sound logical. That's why they survive. But logic isn't always truth. And when your life begins to decay from the inside out, it won't be because of a lack of talent or opportunity. It'll be because you dressed weakness in the clothes of reason and called it wisdom. The man who pushes himself, the one who builds something real, refuses to argue for his limitations. He doesn't debate whether his excuses are valid. He doesn't coddle his fatigue or elevate his fear. He faces the truth head-on, raw and unfiltered. He holds the mirror up and doesn't flinch. That's what makes him dangerous. Not more time or less pain, but the refusal to lie to himself. Excuses are clever. They wear many faces. I'm not ready. Now's not the right time. I don't know where to start. But beneath them all lies the same root, fear. Fear of effort. Fear of exposure. Fear of leaving behind the version of yourself you've grown used to. That's why most men never evolve. It's not lack of potential, it's loyalty to their excuses. So how do you kill those excuses? You expose them, drag them out of the shadows, question them like a hostile witness. Don't accept them at face value. Interrogate them. Ask yourself, is this really true, or is it just easier to believe? Hold them in your hand like a weapon turned against you. Then move. Not around them, but through them. Do the opposite of what the excuse demands. If it says rest, you work. If it says wait, you begin. If it says you can't, you prove you can. Picture a man at the base of a towering mountain. The climb is steep, the weather unforgiving. One man looks at his boots and says they're not good enough. Another stares at the sky and says it might rain. Another checks his age, his past, his pain, and whispers, I missed my chance. But one man steps forward. No speech, no perfect plan, just bloody feet, bruised hands, and relentless steps. That's the man who changes things. Not because he had no excuses, but because he burned them all. Now ask yourself, what's your excuse? And what has it already cost you? How many chances slipped away because it was easier to delay? How many days vanished while you waited for a perfect moment that never came? What have your excuses stolen from your future, your health, your progress, your strength, your peace? If you want a life of power, clarity, and purpose, you must declare war on excuses. Tear them down, one by one. You must be ruthless, because excuses don't disappear on their own. They grow like weeds. If you don't rip them out, they spread, and over time they bury you. Not in one dramatic collapse, but slowly, silently, year after year, until one day you look around and realize your potential has rotted beneath comfort. Tell the truth, not the version that makes you feel safe, but the one that makes you move. Stop shielding yourself with clever phrases that sound wise, but keep you small. Start treating your word like law. Show up not because you feel ready, but because you refuse to let excuses steal another inch. Here's the truth most people never admit. Your life isn't held back by a lack of motivation, resources, or guidance. It's held back by the lies you tell yourself. And until you burn those lies to the ground, nothing will change. No strategy will save you. No goal will lift you. So light the match and let your excuses burn. Purpose is the only fuel that lasts. Without it, you will fall. Not always suddenly, not always with a crash, but in a slow drift, a quiet collapse, a silent erosion of drive and direction. One morning you rise with fire, the next you move like fog. One day you care, the next you can't explain why you're even trying. Because effort without meaning dries out. It becomes a burden, a chore, an act without a script. And eventually, even the strongest man breaks under the weight of empty action. Purpose is the only thing that keeps the flame alive when everything else goes cold. And don't mistake purpose for a slogan. It's deeper than that. Don't confuse it with a goal on a list or a dream scribbled in the back of your journal. Purpose is not decoration, it's foundation. It is the fire beneath your discipline, the engine that drives your actions. When your body is tired, when your mind feels fractured, when results are nowhere to be seen, purpose is what pushes you to take the next step anyway. Not because it's easy, not because it's fun, but because it matters. A man with purpose moves differently. He enters the day with certainty. He trains with intensity, not for attention, but because something inside demands it. He doesn't need applause. He doesn't need validation. He moves with conviction. Every rep, every word, every decision is a brick in something greater. He's not just building a routine, he's building a legacy. He doesn't chase shortcuts because he understands depth cannot be rushed. He works as though every detail carries weight, because to him, it does. Purpose makes pain bearable, not because the pain lessens, but because it's no longer empty. Suffering without reason feels like punishment, but suffering for something becomes fuel. It strengthens your resolve, sharpens your vision, and gives meaning to the struggle. That's why the man with purpose outlasts everyone else. Not because he's immune to pain, but because his pain has a place, a reason, a direction. So how do you find that purpose? Not in the noise, not in advice from others, not in comparison or in the world's definition of success. You find it in the silence. You find it when you sit alone with your truth. No filters, no distractions. Just you and the question that cuts through illusion. What am I willing to suffer for? Not what you want, not what looks good on a vision board. What are you willing to bleed for? What do you believe in so deeply that discomfort no longer matters? That's where purpose lives. It's the thing you can't walk away from, even when it hurts. The reason you lie awake at night, not with anxiety, but with urgency. The reason you rise before the sun and keep moving even when the road is uphill and the reward invisible. Picture two men building a wall. One is paid by the hour. He waits for instruction, watches the clock, and does the minimum. The other isn't working for wages. He's working for a vision. He sees beyond the bricks. He sees the castle in the dust. Every stone he lifts is sacred. One is just surviving. The other is creating. That is the difference purpose makes. So ask yourself, why do you rise each morning? Is it for approval, for show, for fear of falling behind? Or is it for something deeper, something solid enough to steady you when everything else shakes? Purpose gives your life a center, a spine, a compass. When others are lost in distraction, you stay the course. When others cling to comfort, you embrace the challenge. Not because you're better, but because your vision leaves no room for mediocrity. And when the world tells you to slow down, to back off, to play small, you look within and remember why you began. Push yourself to connect with that purpose. Don't just write it down, live it. Let it bleed into everything you do. Let it guide your steps and harden your will. Make it the standard every action must answer to. Because when your purpose is clear, your path is lit, even in the dark. When your purpose is rooted, your sword stays sharp, even in battle. The man without purpose burns out. But the man with purpose burns through distraction, through failure, through exhaustion, through fear. He becomes unstoppable, not because he's always strong, but because his reason is stronger than resistance. That is how you rise. Not once, but every day. Stop begging for confidence. Earn it. Confidence isn't handed to you. It isn't gifted through praise or built by pats on the back. It's forged in fire, in repetition, in the quiet spaces where no one is watching. It's earned, not through noise, but through action. Through conquest, not compliments. You don't wake up believing in yourself because someone told you to. You wake up with belief because you know what you've done. You fought. You followed through. You bled, and you finished. That history, your private ledger of discipline and resilience, is the root of real confidence. Most men walk through life starving for permission to believe in themselves. They look around, searching for approval, asking, "Do you think I can?" As if the world's opinion can replace proof. But that question must die. It's weakness disguised as humility. Replace it with a command, "Watch me prove it." Because in the end, no one truly believes in the man who doubts himself. They may smile, they may nod, but belief is reserved for the man who's already proven he doesn't need it. And once you become that man, once you move without permission, you'll discover something powerful. No one can doubt you when you no longer doubt yourself. Confidence isn't loud, and it isn't arrogant. It doesn't need to announce itself. It's built quietly, in the shadows. It grows in the early morning when you rise before the sun, in the gym when your body screams for rest, and you keep going. It shows in the work you continue long after motivation has faded. Confidence is carved into you through consistency. When you show up again and again, not because it's easy, but because you said you would. Real power isn't found in feelings, but in action. You don't need to conquer the world to build confidence. It doesn't begin with grand victories. It begins small, keeping promises to yourself. You say you'll rise early, and you do. You say you'll train, and you do. You say you'll read, write, study, build, and you follow through. One act, then another, each one a brick, each one a declaration. Soon your actions speak louder than your insecurities. The more you follow through, the quieter your doubts become. One day, you look in the mirror and no longer see potential. You see proof. That proof becomes armor. Not flashy, not boastful, but unshakable. Picture a man standing tall. Not because he was applauded or born gifted, but because he endured. He doesn't chase validation. He doesn't need to convince anyone. He's walked through storms, taken the hits, and kept his word when quitting would have been easier. His confidence doesn't come from words. It comes from what he's done. He's survived every battle life threw at him. That's why he stands tall. That's why he doesn't flinch. Do you feel weak? Then act strong. Don't wait to feel better. Be better. Confidence isn't a mood. It's the byproduct of discipline. Do you think confident men were born that way? No. They were forged through years of small wins, through choices made in the dark, through the steady refusal to bend when others broke. Every time you act strong while feeling uncertain, you lay the foundation for a stronger self. Do you feel unsure? Then stop spinning in your head and start proving something. Not to the world, but to yourself. Do it today, not someday, not when it's easier. Do something hard. Do something uncomfortable. Do something that shows your own soul you are not here to quit. Not here to fold. Not here to settle. The man who keeps showing up, who keeps honoring his word, who keeps stacking quiet victories, that man becomes unshakable. No matter what the world throws at him, he's already proven he will stand, he will work, he will endure. And it's never about being the best. It's about being solid, reliable, grounded in action. That is what confidence truly is. A deep, unspoken certainty that you can trust yourself because your past proves it. So don't chase the feeling. Chase the follow-through. Chase the reps. Chase the fire that comes from doing what you said you'd do, especially when it's hard. Confidence doesn't arrive all at once. It builds over time, quietly, steadily, like a storm that doesn't scream but surrounds. You don't need to talk about it. You need to live it. And when you do, you'll never again ask anyone if they believe in you. Your actions will answer the question, clearly, permanently, without apology. The fire you need is already inside you. You don't need more advice. You've heard enough. You don't need more time. You've had plenty. And you don't need another chance, another push, or another person to believe in you. What you need, what you've always needed, is to realize that everything you've been searching for, everything you've begged from the world, has been inside you all along. The fire, the strength, the clarity, the grit, it's already there. Not in a book, not in someone's approval, but within you. Yet you've forgotten, haven't you? You've been living as if your power were somewhere else, waiting to be unlocked by the perfect routine, the right opportunity, or the right words from someone more successful. All the while, you've been carrying a match in your pocket. The spark has always been there, but you buried it under doubt, hesitation, and the stories you've been told about who you're supposed to be. The fire you seek was never out there. It never was. You've been conditioned to believe someone else has to give it to you, that you need permission, that you must be chosen. But here's the truth. You were already chosen. Life itself chose you the moment you were born. The simple fact that you breathe, think, and choose means you've been handed the greatest gift, a chance to become unstoppable. But somewhere along the way, the world tamed you. It told you to be polite, to calm down, to be practical. You began to believe the lie that safety equals success, that comfort equals happiness, that certainty is better than challenge. So you traded fire for routine, potential for acceptance. You went from being a force to being a shadow, and now you wonder why you feel empty. You were not born weak or passive. You were born with a spine, with will, with a soul wired to fight and to win. That fire inside you may have dimmed. Maybe you've ignored it. Maybe it's been buried under layers of excuses and disappointment, but it's not gone. It never is. It waits. It waits for the moment you stop pretending to be helpless. It waits for the day you stop acting like a victim of circumstance and start acting like the architect of your life. So how do you find that fire again? You don't wait. You dig. You claw through the false narratives. You strip away the comfortable lies. You stop watching the clock, stop waiting for the right time, and you act. Do something hard every single day, not to impress anyone, not to check a box, but to awaken the warrior that's been asleep inside you. Start keeping promises to yourself. No more delays. No more tomorrow. No more endless talk. If you say you'll do it, you do it. You push your limits, feel the resistance, and lean into it. Let the struggle carve you, not break you, sharpen you. That's what struggle does when you stop running. It hones you into a weapon. Picture a man alone in the dark, cold, afraid, surrounded by silence and uncertainty. He has nothing to hold on to, no support, no guidance, just his breath and his mind. Then he reaches into his coat and finds a spark, a flint, a match. He strikes it. It flickers for a moment, just enough to see his own hand, just enough to warm the air around him. And in that instant, everything changes. Not because the fire was given to him, but because he lit it himself. That's you right now. You're holding the match. Will you strike it? Or will you sit in the dark, waiting for someone else to bring the flame? You have to choose. Keep waiting, keep pretending, keep blaming the world, or remember. Remember who you were before it softened you. Before you filtered your words, your fire, your movement just to fit in. Remember the version of you that wanted to build, to conquer, to rise. Not the tired one, not the passive one. The warrior, the builder, the fire starter. He's still there, waiting for you to wake him. Because here's the truth. The world will not hand you your fire. Purpose will never arrive on a silver platter. No one is coming to rescue you from doubt. You already carry what you need. The flame has always been inside you. Push yourself to remember that. Push yourself to act on it. Don't beg for motivation. Don't scroll for inspiration. Look in the mirror. That's your reminder. That's your ignition. Begin with one act, one decision, one promise kept. Strike the match. Then watch what happens when you stop waiting and start burning. You don't need more. You need to remember what's already yours. Confidence, fire, power. It's not out there. It's in your blood, your bones, your breath. You are the fire starter. Now light the flame. Keep pushing even when no one claps. You say you want greatness. You talk about it with conviction. You imagine the rewards. But the real question isn't whether you want greatness. It's whether you can endure the process required to earn it. Can you keep going when no one sees? Can you keep showing up without applause, without praise, without a spotlight? Just silence. Because that's where greatness lives. In the dark, in the quiet, in the repetition. Most people can sprint when the lights are on. Most can shine when the audience is cheering. But most stop when the noise fades. They work hard when eyes are on them, then sink into comfort when no one notices. They say they want success, but what they really crave is attention. They're addicted to being seen, not to becoming excellent. But the ones who rise, the ones who become unshakable, are those who learn to keep working in the dark. They don't need eyes on them to validate their grind. They don't rely on public confirmation to hold their discipline. They work when it's lonely, when it's cold, when it's thankless, and that's where their edge is forged. It's not talent. It's not luck. It's consistency without an audience. Results don't come on the days you feel celebrated. They don't appear after a standing ovation or a perfect morning. They come from the days you didn't feel like it, but showed up anyway. From the nights your body begged for rest, but you chose to finish. They come from the afternoons when the world forgot you, but you remembered your mission. These are the bricks that build a fortress no storm can shake. You want admiration? Earn it in silence. You want respect? Forge it through discipline. Let the world wonder how you got so far. Let them whisper about your strength, your focus, your foundation. You won't need to explain, because you'll know you earned it alone. You didn't chase the crowd. You didn't need the applause. You built something real when no one was watching. So how do you train for this? How do you become the one who moves without being seen? You kill the craving for approval. You bury the need for praise. You don't pretend applause is worthless. It feels good, but you decide it's not necessary. You learn to move without it, to grow without anyone telling you you're doing well. You make the work sacred. You fall in love with the process, not the performance. With the effort, not the ego. And then you discover something few ever do. The reward is not the recognition. The reward is who you become in the process. Stronger, sharper, clearer. The kind of person who doesn't flinch when it's hard. Who doesn't break when it's quiet. Who knows their power because it wasn't given, it was carved, day by day, in private. Picture this. A man digging a tunnel beneath stone. Inch by inch, day by day, his hands blister, his muscles ache. No one sees him. No one applauds. No one believes in what he's doing, but still he digs. He doesn't stop to prove his effort or broadcast his struggle. He just keeps going. And then one day, a beam of light breaks through. He emerges into the open. The world sees the result and calls him an overnight success. They say he came out of nowhere, but he knows the truth. It took everything. Years of sweat, silence, and sacrifice. A level of commitment that can't be explained, only lived. So ask yourself, are you willing to be that man? Are you willing to be ignored while you build? Can you endure the silence without falling into self-pity? Can you train when it's boring? Can you stay focused when no one is clapping? Because that is the price, and most aren't willing to pay it. But if you are, if you push yourself anyway, you become something rare, something unstoppable. You stop waiting for cheers. You stop begging for validation. You stop needing the world to believe in you before you believe in yourself. You move with purpose. You execute without recognition. And in time, your results will speak for you. The longer you go unseen, the more powerful your breakthrough will be. When it comes, it won't be noise. It'll be thunder. The world won't just notice you. They'll feel you. But only because you put in the work they never saw. So keep digging. Keep showing up. Keep pushing in the silence, especially in the silence. Because that's where the real ones are made. Not on stages, but in solitude. Not through hype, but through hunger. You say you want greatness? Prove it when no one's watching. Decide right now you're all in. And there comes a moment when everything changes, though you may not see it while it's happening. There's no drum roll, no triumphant music swelling in the background, no crowd watching, no cinematic moment to announce it. But it happens just the same. And when it does, it marks the death of who you were and the birth of who you can become. It's quiet, yes, but it's final. It's the moment you decide, I'm all in. Most people never reach that point. They flirt with the idea. They talk about commitment. They dress in the language of discipline and desire. But deep down, they always leave the back door unlocked. They keep a life raft close, just in case. They say they want transformation, but they keep their options open. Always one foot in, one foot out. Always a hint of hesitation. They don't leap, they tiptoe. And that's why they stay stuck. That's why change never lasts. Because nothing real is built on maybe. If you want to truly become someone different, you can't afford to live in the middle. The middle is where excuses live, where promises die, where comfort disguises itself as wisdom. It's the graveyard of potential, the place where dreams fade slowly. And if you want to escape it, there's only one way: full commitment. Complete, unshakable, and final. It starts with a decision, not the kind shouted with excitement, only to vanish when the mood fades. Not the kind posted online for strangers' approval. A real decision, one that begins deep in your chest, in your bones, and echoes through everything you do from this moment forward. It's the choice that says, I'm done being half-built. I'm done entertaining escape. I'm done with maybe. I go all in, or not at all. Burn the bridge behind you. Tear down the safety nets. Let the old version of you dissolve. The hesitant one, the cautious one, the one always waiting for another sign. That version is gone. You don't need more signs. You don't need more time. What you need is conviction. So how do you step into that place? How do you live like you're all in? You begin by facing your life exactly as it is. Stop avoiding uncomfortable truths. Take a cold, unflinching look at where you've played small, where you've stalled under the illusion of being smart or safe. Name the patterns. Admit where fear has been making your decisions. Then, without waiting for permission, you say enough. You tell yourself the old way ends here. From this point forward, you're either all the way in or you're out. And this choice isn't symbolic. It demands action. It demands change. You stop talking about goals and start executing. You stop waiting to feel ready and move anyway. You strip hesitation from your vocabulary. Words like maybe, try, someday, or we'll see no longer belong to you. You speak only in absolutes. You train. You build. You execute. Not once. Not when it's convenient. Every day, that is what being all in truly means. It means your commitment speaks louder than your excuses. Picture a man standing at the edge of a cliff. The wind is howling. Below lies the unknown, dark, uncertain, full of risk. Behind him is the old life, the one that kept him small, safe, and unfulfilled. He doesn't have time to overthink. There's no luxury of endless analysis. He can leap, or he can live with regret. He doesn't know where he'll land, and he doesn't need to. All he knows is that he can't go back. So he tightens his jaw, steadies his breath, and jumps. Not because he's fearless, but because he's done waiting. That's what it means to be all in, to leap into effort without the promise of instant reward. To trust that the strength you need will only appear after you commit. And to realize that hesitation is the real enemy. Every pause, every stall, every backward step feeds the part of you that wants to stay small. So ask yourself honestly, what are you still clinging to that keeps you stuck? What excuse, what fear, what false logic are you holding like it's protecting you? And how much longer will you let it control your life? Deep down, you already know what needs to be done. You've known it for a long time. The only thing missing is the decision to do it fully, not halfway, not for a few days, not until it gets hard. Fully, relentlessly, as if your future depends on it, because it does. Push yourself to decide now, not later, not when the timing feels better. Right here, right now, tell yourself with clarity, I'm done with hesitation. I'm done with half measures. I'm all in. Say it until it stops being words and becomes identity, then live it. Move with it. Wake each morning with that fire in your chest. Not for approval, not for applause, but for you. Because the man who is all in doesn't need recognition. His results speak for him. His focus commands respect. His commitment reshapes his world. Once you decide fully and deeply, you unlock a version of yourself the world has never seen. And once he's awake, once he's in motion, nothing can stop him. Be that man. Be all in. No one is coming to save you. No one is handing you your dream. It's on you. Every step forward, every inch gained, will be because you pushed yourself. So stop waiting, stop wishing, and start moving. Discipline over doubt, action over excuses, because the life you want isn't built by chance, it's built by force. You either make it happen, or you live with the regret of never trying. Decide now. Push yourself. Make it happen. Your future is waiting. Wishing you health, happiness, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel, Mindset Daily.